FightHype.com here with my man, always well-dressed, Michael Yormark. Michael, crazy press conference.
Crazy, but you know what, not unexpected. You know, we've seen this unpredictability from Sergey during the last 8 weeks. You know, as you know, he was supposed to show up for the Canelo Chavez interview on the HBO pay-per-view at T-Mobile Arena, pulls a no-show. He was supposed to sit down with the media this morning prior to the press conference, just like Andre was obligated to do. He pulls a no-show. He gets up on the dais today, speaks, and then leaves. I've spoken to a lot of the media today. They've never seen that. You know, Dan Rafael mentioned to me today that he's been to 102 fights over the last X amount of time. He's never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
We've gotten to this guy's head. He's so confused. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what to do. But one thing he must do, he can't hide on Saturday night. He's got to get in that ring.
Did you guys kind of expect that type of reaction from him when all the news started coming out about his trainer and everything? Did you think that it might actually start to get to him?
I think. Listen, I think a lot of this has happened, has gotten to him. I mean, you know, he made some outrageous comments on social media, which he had to pay the price for. Obviously, you know, there's the story about his trainer, and I can tell you unequivocally that his trainer reached out to Team Ward. I've seen the texts.
Wow.
And there's no lying there. There's no disputing that. And I think that even though Coach Jackson is trying to defend himself, if I'm Sergey, in the back of my mind, I'm saying to myself, could this be true? Could I have a potential traitor in my camp? Is my trainer truly somebody that wants to work for the opponent? I think all of these things are beginning to enter, you know, his mind right now. And that's not the right mindset to be in when you have to fight the champ on Saturday night. No question.
Is that something that you think you guys as a team, as underworks, that you'll have to disclose to the media, to the public, maybe after the fight?
I think at the appropriate time, you know, Josh Duva and Virgil and Team Ward, you know, if they feel it's necessary, you know, we'll show the evidence that Team Ward has not been lying. This wasn't a story to make up just for the hype. But the reality is, you know, Coach Jackson hasn't been taken care of. I mean, guys, let's talk about this for a moment. The man probably isn't compensated very well. His fighter doesn't listen to him. And apparently he was told after the first 4 or 5 rounds not to say anything in the corner in November. Now, I saw a published report the other day that Sergey Kovalev made $2 million as the champion from Kathy Duva at Main Events for the fight in November. I will tell you, if that's true, he should look for a new promoter.
Wow.
And that's probably why Coach Jackson reached out to Team Ward. Because, as Virgil Hunter pointed out, if you remember, as a lead up to the last fight, that Coach Jackson wasn't compensated very well. So I think there's a lot of things going on in their camp. I think there's confusion. I think there's disarray. They're trying to create this picture that everything is perfect, that they've come together, that they're unified, but there's cracks there. And I think you started to see that today. So we weren't really surprised what he did. I just hope that he shows up tomorrow to weigh in. I hope he shows up for the fight on Saturday. And I hope that he gives Andre an opportunity to really give him a lesson.
Did you sense that same kind of worry, those same kind of cracks in his promoter as well, Kathy Duva? I mean, towards the end of the press conference, she seemed like she was kind of out of character, you know, with the whole grabbing the towel and, you know, you guys are going to throw it in and all that stuff. Does that seem like out of character?
It is. She's rattled. She doesn't know what to do, you know. She keeps talking about 39. I've been in the business 39 years, but the business has changed, you know. And, let's be honest, you know, before the fight, you know, with Andre in November, what big fights has she been a part of? What big pay-per-view fights has she been a part of? So this is kind of new territory for her in a sense, as you know, the CEO of Main Events. And so, yeah, I think she got rattled, you know. And by the way, her team left her up there by herself. She was up there by herself.
Yeah.
But she was sitting next to Tony Walker and Mr. Bennett, and her team left her. So, you know, I think she was probably maybe a little uncomfortable being up there by herself. And I think she got rattled. I really do, and I just don't think she has a response for what's going on right now.
She stood her ground. She took on you, Virgil, and Andre at the same time. What did you make of that scenario, that sequence of events? When
I mean, I didn't really say anything. I mean, her and Virgil were back and forth. Listen, she's a grown woman. She's got to be able to, take care of herself and protect herself. She's been in the business for a long time. It's just words. That's all it is. It's just words. Listen, we I don't want to get carried away with that stuff. We're focused on one thing. We're focused on the weigh-in tomorrow, and then obviously the big fight on Saturday night. I think everyone saw, who Sergey was today, and now it's just time to focus on the big fight and get ready for it.
Michael, as you are focused on this fight, it's very difficult to not acknowledge what happened yesterday. The breaking news: Mayweather versus McGregor. You actually called it a gravity-winning spectacle. Let us know how that could overshadow this or affect boxing. What's your whole take on that?
Listen, am I happy that the news broke this week? No, I'm not happy. I mean, you don't want any distractions like that as you're trying to build momentum for a fight. But at the end of the day, what can you do about it? This was done strategically, by the promoters involved. I don't think it had anything to do with trying to negatively impact, our fight. To be honest with you, I think it was more about getting ahead of Canelo, Triple G, getting tickets on sale, announcing the date, and creating more of a distraction for that fight, as well as, unfortunately, Miguel Cotto's fight, which was planned on August 26th in Los Angeles. But it is what it is, and you try to take as much positive out of it as you can, and clearly it's put a spotlight on the boxing world, on combat sports. People are going to sites. The traffic is increasing. Hopefully, they're going to, see, or a story about Ward versus Kovalev, and hopefully be curious about it, and then ultimately want to buy it. So maybe there is a silver lining. Maybe there is an opportunity to leverage that news to get people focused on what's happening in the sport. And all of a sudden they see that this Saturday night is arguably the biggest fight of the year.
When you were speaking on the podium, you mentioned the comments that Kovalev made that seemed like they were directed towards you, and then you basically had to explain that to your daughter, what that was about. Did that kind of make this fight personal for you now?
It's been personal from the moment we announced it for me, to be honest with you. It's been personal on a lot of different levels. Rock Nation is a company that does things first class. We try to do things the right way. We try to treat people the right way. We take the high road. And unfortunately, the people that we're working with on this promotion don't always handle themselves the same way. So there is a personal element to it. And listen, I probably have gotten under Sergey's skin a little bit, That's my job, and I'll continue to do that. I would think that he'd be a little bit stronger. I didn't realize, quite frankly, that mentally he was so fragile, because he apparently was pretty easy prey, from that standpoint. But yeah, he pointed at me at the Grand Arrivals. He made a comment, regarding that Team Ward has been talking a lot of trash, and since we can't get in the ring with him, that he'll have to take it out on Andre Ward. Listen, I don't need Andre to protect me. I can defend myself. But I did have to explain that to my daughter, because my daughter really had no idea. She didn't understand why, the fighter would be pointing, his finger at her father. And what I explained to her is that, he's a bully, and that bullies always, try to intimidate people that are a little bit smaller than they are. But at the end of the day, Andre will take care of that on Saturday night.
Do you think that also kind of speaks to the difference in character between Andre and Sergey Kovalev?
Oh yeah, I mean, Andre would never do that. Andre's a very respectful human being. He's about family. He doesn't have to go out there and try to intimidate. When he gets into that ring, you know, his actions, you know, will speak for themselves. You know, Sergey's a bully, and he obviously feels a little uncomfortable right now. You know, when you think about it, Andre is one of the only fighters, I think, that he's ever fought that figured him out. Not only did Andre figure him out physically, he figured him out mentally. And even the mental games, you know, and the mental war, Andre is dominating right now. You go back to November, the first couple of rounds, yeah, you know, Sergey won those rounds. He was the better fighter. Andre started slower, but then Andre figured him out, right? The last 6 or 7 rounds. And when it was time for Sergey to respond and to figure Andre out, he couldn't. And I think he's still trying to figure him out. And he's frustrated because he can't. You know, Sergey is he's a puncher. He's got a certain style. And you know what? He can't change. Andre is very adaptable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he can course correct when he needs to. So I think there's a lot of frustration there. I really do.
Do you think that in the whole build-up for this fight, the rematch, and the way the media has been handling it and some of the headlines that have been written, do you think that in some sense they've kind of been painting Kovalev as the victim here?
It's a good question. You know, I don't think he's criticized the way he should be. You know, if Andre walked out of the press conference, the media would have been all over that.
Crucified him.
Crucified him. They would have crucified him. For some reason, the media tends to give him a pass. The media should crucify him for what he did today. It was disrespectful to the promotion. Quite frankly, it was disrespectful to his own promoter to leave Kathy up on the stage on the dais by herself.
And even the media.
Okay, and the media. And not to do the face-off. Yeah. You know, the photo, you know, that is used to promote the fight around the world. Disrespectful. I haven't seen any of the stories that have come out of the press conference, but I can only assume that if it was Andre, he would have got destroyed. On the other hand, you know, Sergey gets a bit of a pass because it's an emotional time, because it's a big fight, you know, because of all the talk back and forth. Let's not forget, Sergey started all the talk. We just responded. That's all we did. We just responded.
Does that moment kind of vindicate Andre Ward from the HBO face-off with Max Kellerman, that situation, to kind of clarify as to who's really at fault for that now?
Oh yeah, no question about it. I mean, you saw what happened today. I mean, he pulled a no-show for the media. He told the media, "I've done enough. I'm not talking to you today." Well, guess what? Andre went in there like a gentleman. He sat down. He gave him a half hour. Exactly what he was supposed to do. Andre's done everything that he has been told to do or he's been asked to do to build the hype up for this promotion. Sergey's done nothing. And so he has shown a consistency, a pattern of disrespect. And you know, at some point, you know, Andre's just going to have to take care of that inside the ring.
You know, you mentioned when everything went down and he stormed off, you kind of mentioned, you know, I hope he shows up for the fight. I think a lot of people, you know, kind of laughed that off as though you were joking, but you seemed like you were like serious about that.
I was serious about it. I mean, you know, I think we've rattled him. I think, you know, you know, listen, he clearly was frustrated today. I mean, listen, let's not even get ahead of ourselves to the fight. Is he going to show up in the weigh-in? And is he going to go to the weigh-in tomorrow? Is he going to do the face-off and stand toe-to-toe in front of Andre tomorrow? You know, I don't know. Will he? I mean, those are all questions now. You know, based on his actions over the last couple of weeks, you know, I don't think there's any. I don't think we can predict anything right now. There's nothing that, you know, that's a guarantee. We can't assume anything. So, again, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope that we get through the weigh-in tomorrow. I hope that he's willing to stand toe-to-toe with Andre tomorrow, and then I hope that he gets into the ring on Saturday night. Because I will say this, it's going to be one hell of a fight.
Like, and outside of boxing, can you forgive him for that incident where he pointed at you, the bully situation, on a personal level? Can you forgive him as a person, and outside of boxing, as a person, how do you view him? Can you forgive him for that moment in front of your daughter?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I don't even think about it. You know, it was unfortunate that my daughter had to go through that situation. You know, obviously she probably was, you know, scared for her father, but I'm a grown man. You know what I mean? And, I've had worse people point, in my face before. So it doesn't bother me, and I don't get easily intimidated. He knows nothing about my background. He doesn't know where I came from. He doesn't know how I was raised. I don't get easily intimidated. So I don't even think twice about it. The only reason I brought it up today is because it was something. I thought a fact that people should know, especially because his actions negatively impacted a child who was 11 years old.
Just, I mean, again, I don't know if you can speak on this. We kind of overheard you speaking on, something that you guys were setting up for Andre Ward, but just because you mentioned, the situation that your daughter had to see with Kovalev, can you kind of speak on the type of person Andre Ward is when it comes to, like, giving back to the community and dealing with kids and stuff like that?
Yeah, what you overheard was a conversation with the Clorox company based in Oakland that would like Andre to participate in a back-to-school program for underprivileged children in the city of Oakland, and giving them school supplies and backpacks as they get ready to go back to school in August. And so Andre and his wife, absolutely agreed to participate because it's meaningful, because they love children and they want to be able to give back to the community, and that's the kind of person he is. You heard his comments today about Daniel Franco. Another great example of what kind of guy he is. Even though he's training for arguably the biggest fight of his career, he's been hitting me every day. How's Franco? How's Franco? I'm concerned about Franco. I want to speak to his family after the fight. I mean, it's almost like it's become a bit of a distraction for him.
Wow.
But he's a sensitive guy. He's a caring guy. He cares for his fellow boxers. In the business, in the industry. He cares about children. He cares about his community. He's a great father. He's a great husband. I mean, Andre's a unique individual. So, I'm glad that my daughter has been able to get to know him and has been able to support him. She was at the fight in November. She obviously is here this week and is a big fan of his and very excited about going tomorrow night. So, we're excited that she's here.